Hi everyone, I'm going to continue to read Runaway Ralph, but today I have a special guest who's also in kindergarten. This is my nephew, Liam.
Hi!
He's going to listen and we're going to keep going. Okay, we are in the middle of the escape. In a few moments, Aunt Jill returned, glanced at the shelf beside Ralph's cage, and frowned slightly as if she were puzzled about something. Ralph settled greedily at his food dish. I'll show that Garf, he thought, as he crammed seeds into his mouth with his paws. As soon as I get out of this cage, I'll show him. When Ralph's stomach was comfortably full, he took a long nap. By the time he awoke, the craft shop was empty, the camp strangely quiet. A few chickens scratched under the walnut trees, and the kittens tumbled about trying to catch one another's tails. A horse whinnied in the pasture, but there was no one in sight. "Where's everyone?" asked Chum. "They've all gone down to the river for a swim and a picnic supper," answered Chum. "Peaceful, isn't it? I finally got some sleep in the daytime." In the distance, Sam barked and campers shouted and laughed. Ralph felt so stodgy from overeating that he went for a run on his wheel before he scuttled around the edges of his cage. His search was futile. Garf had replaced the bottom and fastened the door securely. Suddenly, the hair along Ralph's spine began to tingle. "Catso!" Ralph huddled in the corner of his cage and he tried to make himself invisible. Catso squeezed through the hole in the screen and landed with a soft thud on the workbench beneath Ralph's cage. Ralph squeezed himself into a tighter ball. He felt as if the beat of his heart was as loud as the tick of the missing watch. Why couldn't Sam stay home and guard the camp the way he was supposed to? This time there was no watch to distract Catso. Catso stood with his front paws on Ralph's shelf and sniffed the cage. Then he sat down and he calmly began to wash, first his right ear, then his left. The suspense was more than Ralph could bear. Catso stretched out his left hind leg and began to groom his left hind foot. He licked with long, careful licks, combing his fur neatly toward his toes. Suddenly, Ralph had an inspiration. He was about to take a terrible chance, but with no one to protect him from a sneaky cat, he had nothing to lose. Anything was better than cringing in a corner waiting for that beast to wash and comb every hair on his body. Ralph took charge. He left his corner, he sprang on his wheel, and he raced so fast he looped the loop. That activity caught Catso's attention all right. The cat sat there with his hind leg in the air, looking surprised. Ralph leaped from his wheel and faced Catso through his bars. The cat forgot about his grooming and, jumping to his feet, placed his front paws on the shelf and stared into Ralph's cage. Hiding his terror, Ralph stared back. "If there's one thing I can't stand, it's a disrespectful mouse," said Catso, and with a swipe of his paw, he sent the cage flying. Ralph was prepared. He hung onto the bars and he braced himself. Water splashed and seeds flew. One corner of the cage struck the work table, jarring the bottom loose exactly as Ralph had planned. The cage bounced and landed on its side, and Ralph sprang out through what had once been the bottom. Here's a picture of Catso. This accident was his chance. Catso pounced, but before his paws could land on Ralph, he was thrown off of his aim by a sudden hissing sound from above. Startled, he missed Ralph's tail by the width of a whisker. Ralph was startled too, but the unexpected noise did not prevent him from scrambling behind a jar of nails on the work table. When Ralph got up the courage to peek around, he saw Catso staring up at Chum's cage. He heard the hissing sound again, and he knew that it must be coming from Chum. Good old Chum. Ralph hadn't known that a hamster knew how to hiss. When Catso recovered from his surprise, he was after Ralph, who dashed from behind the nails as the jars was sent rolling across the table. Crash! It landed on the floor and it broke, scattering nails across the entire craft shop. Ralph leaped behind the supplies of beans and peas and hamster food with Catso after him. Jars crashed, bags tumbled and split as they fell. Crash, bang, smash. Noise and flying glass did not stop Catso. Ralph leaped behind the big spools of lanyard plastic. Catso knocked over the spools and the plastic unreeled, tangling about his feet. While Catso freed himself from the plastic, Ralph found himself behind the work table, a slanting piece of wood from what was a brace between the studs of the rough walls of the craft shop. Ralph ran down to the brace as Catso tried to squeeze his head between the cage of the work table and the wall. He could not get his head in the space, but not the rest of his body. He pulled back his head and he tried to reach Ralph with his paw. Ralph, however, was too far down in the brace. Next, Catso leaped to the floor and ran under the table. Ralph scurried up the brace so that he was above the table and beyond Catso's reaching paw. Back to the tabletop went Catso, and down the brace ran Ralph, once again beyond the stretch of those curved, groping paws. Frantic with frustration, the cat sprang from the table while Ralph ran up the brace. Once more, Catso reached and stretched and groped. Ralph's courage and confidence had returned. He advanced within half an inch of Catso's longest reach. Catso tried but could not stretch his foreleg any further. Ralph sat down and said, "This could go on all day. You might as well give up. You know I'm too smart for you." Catso, after one more effort to stretch farther, withdrew his paw. He came out from under the table and he picked his way daintily and disdainfully through the jumble of seeds, nails, and plastic cord as if the mess was beneath his notice. He held his tail proudly, but he did not feel Ralph. That cat had been defeated. Catso squeezed out the hole in the screen door. Ralph was safe. Whew. Safe and free. Now, all he had to do was figure out how to get his motorcycle away from Garf, and he would be on his way back to the Mountain View Inn. In the meantime, he settled down to feast on the seeds that Catso had spilled for him. Okay, friends, that is the end of Chapter 7. We are going to continue and read Chapter 8 tomorrow, but it's called Chapter 8. Ralph Strikes a Bargain. Dun, dun, dun! Have a good day, guys.